welcome to Sheriff's Talk, a public affairs program of KWN TV 7. Join us every week as we talk various aspects of law enforcement and how important it is for the citizens and law enforcement to work together. Now join us for another edition of Sheriff Talk on KWN Live and Local TV Channel 7. And welcome into Sheriff Talk here on KWN TV. We welcome you to another edition where we talk law enforcement around the tri-state area of North Alabama, North Georgia, and Southeast Tennessee. And today, it's going to be hunting and fishing and what you can do and what you can't do and what may be changing for this year. We welcome back our three, and I know they're called different things in various states, but our game wardens in Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee, or our DNR officers, whatever we want to do. Good day, gentlemen. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
Back.
We appreciate you very much. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, starting this way and coming my way.
I'm Russ Vandergriff. I'm a wildlife officer in Marion County, Tennessee.
All right.
Greg Elrod. I'm a conservation officer, Alabama.
Alabama, and you serve basically all of Alabama, primarily DeKalb and Jackson?
Yeah, we're assigned to counties in Alabama, and I'm assigned to DeKalb County, but we work, several other counties,
All right.
I'm Sean Elmore, Conservation Officer with Georgia Department of Natural Resources. I'm actually assigned to Gordon County, but we work Gordon, Floyd, Chattooga, Walker, Dade, and Catoosa, so we've got the whole northwest corner of Georgia.
All right. These are the gentlemen that keep the woods and the streams and the areas safe for us, and we appreciate you coming on. We've done this now every change of season, hunting season now, for the last 2 or 3, I guess, couple of years. I know you've been on with us, and y'all joined us here in the last year or so, and we appreciate you very much coming on and give us the sheriffs a little bit of rest. They don't have to come on and be with us every week, but I think it's very important that we kind of remind everybody as the season changes. We're fixing to get into fishing season. A lot of people's going to be out on water safety and boating and things like that. So we wanted to kind of go over if there's any changes and what type of things that we may encounter that we need to know before we head that way. Coming up for spring here. And I guess, there's probably no beginning question to be able to say, okay, what do we do? First of all, what hunting season is still open right now in Tennessee?
Turkey season just opened this past weekend in Tennessee. That's the big one going on right now. We have some that are year-round, like coyote or something, but the turkey season is what everybody's out doing right now, and so far we've had a pretty good season. It'll run until the 14th of May is when it closes, so a lot of hunters out, a lot of fishermen are out right now too.
So basically there's some year-round hunting that's basically any time, but the season right now is for turkeys in Tennessee. How about Alabama?
Yeah, turkey season. It opened March the 15th and runs through April 30th.
So similar, you got a little bit more spillover in Tennessee than you do. Now, is there any restrictions on where you can, well, I'll ask you, is it turkey season in Georgia?
Yeah, it's turkey season. Our season started March 25th and goes out May 15th. I guess the day after Tennessee does.
Is there any limits or things that you can hunt with as far as turkeys are concerned?
Tennessee, the limit is 4 birds for the season. You hunt turkey with shotgun, number 4 shot or smaller. We have some wildlife management areas that have specific dates, like Prentice Cooper Wildlife Management Area in Marion County. They have their hunt actually started today, and the birds that you kill on their hunts also count towards your statewide bag limit. So 4 birds is pretty well the max that you can get in most part of Tennessee. There are a few areas that might have a bonus bird, but pretty well the limit's 4. One per day. That's something they keep talking about changing, whether you can kill 1 or 2, but it's still right now one bird, 1 gobbler per day is all you're allowed to take. In the fall season, you can take either sex, but in the spring season, it's the gobblers only.
Okay, all right. Similar to Alabama?
Yeah, Alabama, you have a 5 gobbler limit, 1 per day. In northeast Alabama, northwest Alabama has some portions that they don't have a turkey season, and there's certain areas in some counties that just have a shortened season. But in this part of the state, it's 5 total and 1 gobbler a day.
What in Georgia, the limits?
We can only have 3.
3.
So they must have some better turkey populations than we do here. But it's 3 gobblers. I know some states allow you to kill bearded hens. Georgia does not allow that. And all we have is, Russ mentioned their fall season. We've only got a spring season for turkeys, but it's 3 gobblers. If you want to kill all 3 gobblers in one day, you can finish your season off in one day, or you can, spread it out. Our local wildlife management areas, Johns Mountain, Pigeon Mountain, which is local here, just on top of Lookout. Those birds that you kill there also count towards your season bag limit.
Where do folks go? I mean, where would you go to start looking for wild turkeys? I mean, I know there's wildlife, places, you may be involved in hunting clubs and things like that. So you're gonna. Where's typically the best areas in this tri-state area to find turkeys? Do y'all know?
I'd say the wildlife management areas are a good place to start. We have a large one in Jackson County, the James D. Martin Skyline Management Area, and got a Little River Management Area in DeKalb County that borders. It's in DeKalb and Cherokee counties, but both of those have good populations of turkey. Of course, private land, and it's probably going to be the best place, less pressured for the most part.
One of the better places in Georgia to go, really, in northwest Georgia here, is down at Berry College, down in Floyd County in Rome. They've got a very large population down there. Good place to hunt, oaks, pines, big woods. That's what turkeys like.
Tennessee, we're lucky. We got quite a bit of public land too. Like I said, we got 24,000 acre wildlife management area, Prentice Cooper. That's probably one of the best kept secrets in Tennessee for turkey hunting. Not many people hunt it, and there's a lot of birds there. Franklin State Forest on the Franklin-Marion line, there's a lot of birds up there. We have a lot of TVA property down around Nickajack. There's birds all over Marion County. When I came in the county 26 years ago, that was one of the things I started doing, was trapping and relocating turkeys to parts of the county that didn't have very many. And now we've got them everywhere. There's been turkeys on the courthouse square in the middle of Jasper, so yeah, they're everywhere.
You're not allowed to hunt.
Yeah,
there.
don't hunt that, please.
You'll have more paperwork to fill out than you could ever imagine.
And he mentioned the TVA property. I mean, we've got a lot of national forest property here in Georgia, in Walker County, Catoosa County, Chattooga County. So it's just a short drive over the mountain to get on the national forest, and it's public land. Open the entire season to anybody that's properly licensed.
Now, is there a difference between national park, like the military park, you can't hunt on?
Correct. Yeah, the national park you cannot, but the Chattahoochee National Forest, which is run by the United States Forest Service, those are the guys that take care of it. It is open to the public, and you can also deer hunt it. But one thing I would recommend for the viewers is to get a copy of the hunting regulations, because some parts of the National Forest is only open certain times. Just an example is this past year, the National Forest property actually closed the day after Christmas, the 26th of December, where our season in the counties still ran all the way through, I want to say it was the 10th or 8th or 10th of January.
So there's some federal laws that would maybe make the dates overlap a few days.
Mm-hmm.
From that.
Yeah.
And of course,
always need to look at the regulations.
And what you're talking about, there's a national forest. It's basically east of Lafayette, going towards Rome. You drive through part of it. Is that correct?
You do. If people around here from Walker County may know Snake Creek Gap, which is over there. There's a lot of national forest right there. There's down around Tryon in Chattooga County on the Walker-Chattooga line, Subligna. In that area, there's a lot of national forest open land in there, public.
Do y'all, either one of y'all in North Alabama or Southeast Tennessee, have any local national forests?
Yeah, we have, well, we have Talladega National Forest, it's a little south of here, but we also have a national preserve, which is somewhat like a national park, and they do allow hunting there. That encompasses Little River Wildlife Management Area. And like Sean said, all of our management areas have laws that are specific to that area, so you have to have a permit for that area to hunt on it, and that permit is going to have, you know, the regulations that pertain to that particular area. So, you know, they have differences in all of them, but Little River would be one in this part of the state.
Yeah, we have the Cherokee National Forest in the eastern corner of the state on the North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee border. It's also a wildlife management area too, and special regulations apply to it too. So I always look at the hunting guide and read before you go hunting.
Read before you go. We're going to take our first break today. We're talking about turkey season, basically open in all 3 states for the next few weeks. When we come back, now that we've told you some of the areas and some of the dates, I want them to go back and kind of for 2 things. We want to talk about licensing, and we want to talk about if you've ever, maybe this is your first time thinking about going hunting, maybe some things that you've got to do as a pre-hunting checklist, and maybe there's somebody out there that's just turning the age that would be able to get a hunting license, so we'll talk about that. Stay with us. Lots more to come this hour. Very informative. If you're into hunting and fishing and safety and boating and all that, we got a lot more for you. Stay here with us on Sherrif Talk. We'll be right back.
Coming to the Colonnade Theater in Ringgold, Georgia. Don't miss country music sensation Ronnie McDowell.
Older women are beautiful lovers.
Ronnie McDowell with special guest Cole Sitzler. Performing at the Colonnade Theater in Ringgold, Georgia, Thursday, April 13th at 7:30 p.m. Only 5 minutes from Chattanooga. Come hear all of Ronnie's great hits.
I got wandering eyes.
You won't want to miss country music sensation Ronnie McDowell with special guest local favorite Cole Sitzler. Performing at the Colonnade Theater in Ringgold, Georgia, Thursday, April 13th at 7:30 p.m.
Watching girls go by.
Tickets on sale now at the Colonnade box office, 706-935-9000. That's 706-935-9000 or online at colonnadecenter.org. Don't miss Ronnie McDowell.
You're gonna ruin my bad reputation.
When you need a licensed plumber, call Stacy Ledwell and the staff at Mr. Rooter in Scottsboro. Mr. Rooter provides your home or business with advanced solutions using high-tech equipment. Our commitment to customer satisfaction shines through in our personalized service. When you schedule an appointment, our professionals will dedicate time to explain the work that has to be done. Our staff will give you upfront pricing, so you'll know exactly what's involved before any work begins. We even pump septic tanks and do new construction on houses. Fully licensed, bonded, and insured, Mr. Rooter in Scottsboro. Call Stacy Ledwell today to set up an appointment at 256-574-4710.
At K's, we're a lot more than just a weight loss clinic. We offer sports physicals for only $18. DOT physicals and screenings are only $75. We serve individuals and companies by offering discount lab services through LabCorp, pre-employment, and random on-site drug screenings. Or if you're an individual who needs blood work but can't afford the high prices, we will do a complete metabolic panel for only $45. Find out about all of our services online at ksdietclinic.com or call 657-2800.
Dobbins Supermarket, serving the community for over 70 years with fresh-cut meats and a full line of grocery items, serving the area's weekly grocery needs. Dobbins Supermarket, Highway 71 in Higdon.
This week at Dobbins Supermarket, enjoy the savings with beef chuck roast, $3.29 a pound. Boneless chicken tenders, $2.49 a pound. Oscar Mayer hot dogs, just $1.89 a pound. Bar S bologna, $1.19 a pound. Breaded chicken fingers, $16.99 for a 10-pound box. This week at Dobbins. We're back at Sherrif Talk here on KWN TV. This week we're talking about hunting and fishing and safety and all of the above. We've got the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, Game Warden, depending on what state you're in, really. These are the officers that are going to be out there to promote safety in hunting and fishing and on the waterways. And we talked a little bit about turkey season, but more importantly, we want to, let's talk about youth first. Let's talk about someone that is of the age that they can actually get a license or being able to start hunting, and kind of talk about, I guess, the teenager to the 18-year-old, because I'm sure that's when they either 18 or 21 is when the laws changed for them. So let's talk about, and we'll start in Tennessee. As far as somebody that wants to be involved in hunting, from excuse me, what age and what do they have to do?
Actually, you can start at 6 years old. From 6 to 12, you don't need a license. Once they get 10, you're required to have hunter education. But before that, you can hunt with an adult that's 21 years of age or older that has had hunter education or exempt from hunter education. You can take the younger ones. Once they get 10 to 12, all they need is a hunter ed. Once they get 13, then they have to be licensed. From 13 to 15, we have a youth hunting, fishing, and trapping license. It's a reduced cost. It covers pretty well everything, but very few permits that you would need. But just for turkey hunting, it covers all of it. And then once they get 16, they get into the adult age that they need the adult license to go turkey hunting. But the main thing, if you're born on or after January 1st of 1969, you have to have hunter education before you hunt once you reach the age of 10. That's something we always check for in this area, and get your license when you get 13 and you're ready to go.
Do youth in your state, do they have to go through hunter safety? I'm sure you go over the guns, but is it a prerequisite for them to be able to shoot the guns, or our instructors see them to
Yes.
safely handle a gun?
Yes, if they're going in for the first time, our classes, we have two different types of classes. One of them is what we call an online class and a field day. You can do all the classwork at home at your own time on the computer. You do little quizzes and tests on that, print it out, come to a field day, and you do a live test and a live firing.
Do you have these several times a year, or
Yes,
set times?
We have several times a year. We have some volunteer instructors that will do classes for us, and then also myself and another officer will do usually 2 or 3 classes a year in different locations. We try to spread it out across the county.
Do you see a lot of youth getting involved in this?
Not as many as there used to be. Our hunter ed classes numbers are down right now. The last couple of years, they're down considerably.
Got to be an app for that. See, they know how to work the computers. They don't, can I do it in the house in front of a game? And that's really unfortunate, because I mean, all of us, were brought up the fact that you did some type of hunting, whether you set out rabbit traps on the snow, or even if you didn't have access to a gun, there was something going on outdoors. You were outdoors anyway, but sadly enough, it's not happening a lot with our youth.
Computer world, and that's why they did the online classes. And we still have a traditional class. You might go 4 to 5 nights a week, but with baseball, football, soccer, everything going on, it's hard to get the kids there for 5 nights a week to do a class. And they do pretty well with the online class too.
Now, before we move to Alabama, you're talking about hunting and fishing. So one license encompasses everything for youth?
For the youth, it does. From 13 to 15, it encompasses the hunting, fishing, trapping.
Okay, and what about, say, 15 to 18 or 15 to 21?
Once they get 16 years of age, it's the same as any of us, any of the adults. They have to purchase the adult license.
So, but they do have to have the training.
Yeah, do have to have the hunter ed first, and then then you can get your adult license that you need for turkey hunting, which will be a base license is a hunting and fishing license, and then you have a big game gun if that's what you're hunting with, or archery or muzzleloader. It's kind of broken down into what type of equipment that you're using.
All right. Alabama, youth, what is the guideline?
Well, the only requirement for private property is when you turn 16, you have to purchase the hunting license that an adult would purchase. And of course, you have to have, if you were born on or after August 1 of 1977, have to have the hunter education certification, and we allow you to start taking that at age 10. and then you're going to be required to have it at age 16. And we do have a supervision license where if you don't have your hunter education certification and you wanted to go hunting, you could get a supervised license and go with a licensed hunter that's 21 or older, and they give you an opportunity to go and see if you wanted to, get into hunting and go ahead and get your hunter education. And we have a traditional class, which would be 10 hours. It's either like on a Saturday or broken down into 2 afternoons. And we have a online class. We used to do a field day where the students would go online, complete their portion on there, and then come to a field day and go through the exercises. But now Alabama has a strictly online hunter education, so you can get the entire certification over the internet.
So you don't have to visualize them actually handling the weapon or whatever they're going to be
No,
using.
there's no field day now. It's just everything is online, and we still do offer the traditional class where it's hands-on. You go through all the, the survival, the hunter ID, the firearms handling and safety, and tree stand safety, and all the other aspects of hunting.
And in Georgia,
Pretty much the same as the other 2 states. We do have a hunter education requirement. We don't have a minimum age. I mean, I've had kids come in that are 6 years old that have passed the test, and I've had 40-year-olds that have not passed the test. So we don't have a minimum age to come in. You must have, if you were born on or after January 1 of 1961, then you are required to have hunter education in the state of Georgia. And just like them, we've got our traditional classes that we do. We normally try to set, unfortunately here this past season, we've set them up. I know we've set 2 up here in Dade, and we've ended up canceling because of lack of participation. But we do have, just like Alabama, an online class where you can get the entire certification online. We do have some field days, but most of those are down in Middle and South Georgia is where they normally do those at. We haven't had any up here. And as far as, and with our youth and hunter education, if you're under the age of 12, you must be supervised by a sober adult, 18 years of age or older. From the ages of 12 to 15, if you've completed hunter education, then you can hunt alone. And then once you turn 16, it's just like Russ said, you have to purchase license just like we would. And one thing here about license this year, I know we've discussed it on the break, and we're going to bring it to everybody. For this year, recently through the 2017-18 Georgia legislative session, there was House Bill 208 that was introduced, and it is a license bill increase. We're fixing to increase the pending the governor's signature. I believe it's on his desk now. Starting July 1, hunting license fees will go up. And that's all across the board. There are some other changes too. Currently, you're not required to have a license till you turn 16 as a resident. But starting July 1, pending the governor's signature, you will once you turn 12, you will have to have a license, and it's like $5. So or the parent could buy a youth sportsman multi-year, 3 years for $15. So it's still $5 a year. Of course, like I said, all of our fees are going up. We've got a lifetime license that's going up. So I would recommend all the viewers, if you want to purchase your child a lifetime license or purchase one of your own, do it before July the 1st. And you can do that. You can go online to GeorgiaDNRLE.org and print off the application and send it in, or you can drive to our office, which is located in Ackworth at Red Top Mountain State Park, and they can do the licensing and stuff there.
so it's either online or at your main office.
Yes, for the lifetime license. Now, just for the regular license purchase, there are a few licensed dealers throughout. I'm not sure how many are here in Dade, but most folks do it online. We've got a Go Outdoors app that, we were talking earlier, the kids and stuff on their phones. You can get an app on your phone and you can purchase the license, right there on your phone. So
I want to ask y'all, and I don't, and we haven't talked about this, but if you hopefully I'm asking something that y'all would know, because I want to make sure that the folks know that hunting with a shotgun or a rifle doesn't necessarily give you a pistol permit. They're different. A gun permit for someone that has a gun permit doesn't have the license or the program for hunting.
Correct.
So, and vice versa. Is that what y'all think? I mean, just because I went down and got a gun permit a few years ago, and they says I can carry a gun, so I don't need to have a weapon permit to go hunting, but you do.
Well, you still have to have a proper license to go hunting. I mean, just because you have that weapons permit, that just allows you to carry that weapon in certain places that you wouldn't have. You could carry it concealed and things of that nature. But you're still required to have, the hunting license for whatever species of game that you're hunting at the time.
So, just because you got a pistol permit or what you think would be a gun permit, you still have to have the other licenses to be able to be out in the. Is that the same way in Alabama and Tennessee?
Yeah, it is, and like Georgia and Tennessee, we have a small game, a big game, and have management area license. So we have license that you would need to purchase before going out hunting.
It's pretty well the same. I mean, it's totally separate.
Totally. Have y'all ever had somebody says, "Well, here's my gun permit,"
all the time,
and it doesn't matter. They still have to have the hunting, but they assumed that, I guess, since they had a permit to carry a gun, they didn't have to, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm. I haven't run into that where they had the gun permit thinking that's all they needed. I haven't run into that, but I do run into a lot of people that show me their gun permit, but while they are out hunting or something, and they're licensed and usually totally legal on everything.
So you don't have to have a gun permit if you're properly licensed as far as your hunting license. With a long rifle or a shotgun or something, it's just not a pistol, right?
Well, you're not. I know in Georgia you're not required to have the gun permit unless you're going to carry it concealed, and then in certain areas.
Or in the vehicle,
yeah, in a vehicle. And one thing in Georgia, like with archery season, during archery season, we've got laws that says you can't even be in possession of a firearm during archery season while you're hunting, unless you have the gun permit. Then you can legally possess that firearm during archery season while you're archery hunting.
Usually just a handgun for personal protection. It wouldn't be a long gun or.
It's when you start dealing with legislatures and laws and lawyers, so they get it all complicated. I know.
You have to read it.
Absolutely.
So.
We are having a great conversation here today. We've talked about some of the youth as far as the licensing and for hunting. We talked about turkey season that's underway in Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with the officers here in Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee. Just stay with us on this week's edition of Sheriff Talk.
Hey, enjoy the spring savings now at Case Ace Hardware all month long. April Red Hot buys include Miracle Grow Moisture Control Potting Mix, a 2 cubic foot bag, just $9.99. Miracle Grow Garden Soil, 1.5 cubic feet, only $5.99. And Scott's Colored Mulch, only $3.99 a bag with your Ace Rewards card. Don't miss the Red Hot buys, the big April savings at Case Ace Hardware, locally owned and operated at 11665 South Main Street in Trenton.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
At K's Diet Clinic, our goal is to get you healthy inside and out. We offer non-stimulant appetite control medications, 100% all-natural, safe and effective, and all while under a doctor's care. We offer prescription appetite suppressants, B12 and lipotropic injections, along with natural weight loss products and nutrition counseling. Family-owned and operated, K's Diet Clinic, 5008 Highway 136 West Trenton. Call 657-2800. Walk-ins welcome. K's Diet Clinic, behind the Huddle House. Online at ksdietclinic.com.
Don't miss country music sensation Ronnie McDowell with special guest Cole Sitzler at the Colonnade.
You're gonna ruin my bad reputation.
Thursday, April 13th, 7:30 p.m. at the Colonnade Theater in Ringgold, only 5 minutes from Chattanooga.
Older women are beautiful lovers.
Tickets on sale now at the Colonnade box office. Call 706-935-9000 or online at colonnadecenter.org. Ronnie McDowell, Thursday, April 13th at the Colonnade Theater in Ringgold, only 5 minutes from Chattanooga.
Delivering top quality health care locally. We are Northeast Alabama Health Services. With 7 locations, there's one near you. Scottsboro, Section, North Sand Mountain, in Higdon, Skyline, Woodville, Fife, and Fort Payne. National Doctors Day is March 30th, and we would like to recognize our doctors and let them know how much we appreciate them. Dr. Teresa Baisden at North Sand Mountain Healthcare Center, Dr. Susan Copley at the Scottsboro Health Center, and Dr. Charles Giddens at the Section Health Center. Putting your health concerns first, we're Northeast Alabama Health Services. It's time to stock up on Uncle Lars Outpost complete meals with dozens of choices. Try our gluten-free barbecue chicken and rice, or our hearty turkey stew, or choose our chuck wagon stew with long grain rice. All of our meals are ready to feed your entire family with no modified ingredients, no colors, no MSG, no dyes, and no preservatives. Also try our snacks and popcorn along with our flavored waters. Visit our 2 locations in Trenton, 12270 South Main inside Peddlers, on Main at Highway 136 West inside Cabins to Castles, or buy online at UncleLarsOutpost.com.
Back now to Sheriff Talk here on KWN. We're talking about hunting and fishing and safety and regulations and having licenses and all kinds of things. We appreciate these officers coming on. And, they actually visit us a couple times a year. I think it's good. It's a good reminder as we get into spring and summer, and we've got vast amount of waterways, and we got hunting and fishing that goes on really year round. I don't. One of our sponsors out here on the mountain that has commercials with us, Cloud Auto Sales. He goes fishing every week, year round. I mean, he's going to be on the water somewhere every week, no matter what the temperature is. And that's he always talks about it on his commercials. And yeah, he said you get a good deal at Clouds, but you also one day a week I'm going to be fishing. So he does that, and a lot of people do year round. I mean,
I'd probably be fishing right now if I wasn't sitting here. So.
Really?
Yeah.
So I would think by far fishing is the out of everything that we do, there's probably more people that go fishing than hunting and the other things as far as job related. Is that
by far?
what you think?
Yes, definitely.
And I would think it's because of where we're at. I mean, we've got the waterways, we've got Niggajack, we've got the river, of course, that runs through North Alabama and all through Southeast Tennessee, and we've got Lookout Creek. I mean, we're excited about that.
They catch some fish at Lookout Creek too now.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, they do.
That is true. So let's talk a little bit about water safety as we go along, and because that's under y'all's umbrella as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll start with you, since I've been starting down here in Tennessee. We'll start right here at home.
Well, one of the biggest things, especially here in Dade with Lookout Creek, very few people are going to be able to get a boat in there that's got a motor on it. So a lot of people, I think, over here are going to be kayaking, canoeing, which is actually tubing, which has actually increased a lot in Georgia here in the last 5 or 6 years.
It's exploded in Tennessee too.
We want to just remind everybody, you've got to have a life jacket. I mean, that's, any type of vessel, if you're floating down a creek,
Even on a tube.
Even on a tube, you've got to have a life jacket, because you're using that vessel to go from point A to point B. And as you're traveling down. Now, if you're under the age of 13, you're not required to wear it in Georgia. So under the age of 13, they are required to have a life jacket on anytime that vessel is moving. So if you've got a kid in a kayak and you put in up here at where the old dam is down on what's the
Sitting Mill or
Sales
Lane.
Sales Lane, and then you want to float down, you want to go down Lookout as far as you can go down Lookout Creek, you got to have that life jacket with you. So in my opinion, and I think these two guys will agree, that's probably one of the most important things that you can have with you, because we're not made to float and we're not made to breathe underwater.
I think most of the kayaking that I've ever seen, if you spend the money for a kayak and you're out there and you do it, I always see them wear a life jacket. Mm-hmm. Most of them always wear. I mean, of course you're supposed to, but it seems like that if they spend money and they kayak, they know they've got to have a life jacket, or they want to. That may be more of a want to than they have to, because there's a lot of dangers flipping those things over and getting caught up in rough waters or whatever. But just throwing the old inner tube in the creek, you may not think that you have to have one, but you do.
Right. Yes, you do. You do.
know.
And one thing Georgia comes out with every year is this little handbook of Georgia boating laws. You can get this stuff is published online. Like I said, you can go to georgiadnrle.org, and you can pull this information up, and it tells you all you need to know about a boat. one thing I mentioned with kayaks and all that, in Georgia, they're not required to be registered. The only time a vessel is required to be registered is if you put any type of mechanical propulsion on it, whether it be electric, gas motor, something like a trolling motor, you're required to have it registered here in Georgia.
Be able to do that. How about in Alabama?
Yeah, it's the same way in Alabama, and I think what Sean was touching on, the fishing kayaks, a lot of those people don't wear their life jackets when they're actually, out fishing. That's become real popular, and we run into a lot of people that just don't have one with them, and it's really important to have that flotation device. And in Alabama, if you're under 8 years of age, you must wear it at all times if you're in the vessel, so it's a little different than Georgia. But that's it's becoming real popular. And as far as the registration, you're not required to on kayaks unless you put a mechanically propelled device on it. Then you have to get the registration and the sticker for it, and pay to get it registered.
I think we discussed hunting earlier and saw a lot of differences between the states, but boating is probably very similar between the states here, but in the same as those guys, and we've seen a lot of kayaks. I mean, it's really exploded on the small rivers and streams and on the Nickajack Lake. Usually if they're on the river, like the Sequatchie River, they seem to have more life jackets with them. But once they get out onto the lake, around their, say at Marion County Park, where their campground is right on the water, and they can just shove right in and get out there and play, they tend to forget them right there, especially around a beach area or something. But
do you think they feel more comfortable because there's not a lot of debris and a lot of things that...
Yeah, it's calm water. They're not actually going in current and everything, and just think of it kind of like a beach toy almost. But we try to remind them. We put up signs and stuff and try to remind them and tell them to make sure they get a life jacket out there with them.
Now, all three of you, that's a ticketable offense if you catch somebody without a life jacket, right?
The majority of the time you're going to get one.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
It's a
considered a
safety
safety
issue.
violation. Yeah.
Right.
So
What I'm saying, that's what you would do normally if you catch somebody that's on an inner tube out going down the creek or kayak or whatever, or in a boat and doesn't have a life jacket, then they're probably going to get a ticket. I mean, that would be the normal procedure for y'all to be able to do. So it's a ticketive. What I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that word.
Yeah, that word. Tickable. That still didn't work, did it?
Ticketable.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Thank you. I talk for a living. Sorry about that. But offense. So, expect that. If you don't have a life jacket, then you don't need to be anywhere near the water. I think that's just good common sense.
Well, people, spending $7 or $8 at Walmart to get a life jacket, is a very low cost than losing a life. And unfortunately, I would probably venture to say, I know I have, and I would venture to say these two guys have seen and had to pull quite a few bodies out of the water, and that's something that we do not enjoy doing at all. And if somebody can put a life jacket on and it saves their life, then, it's well worth it.
Put it on and zip it up, make sure it's the proper fit, the proper size and everything for that individual. We've had, a few years ago, we had a fatality. Well, there was 3 fatalities, 5 individuals below Nickajack Dam when the floodgates were open. According to the reports, all of them were wearing life jackets, but whether or not they were zipped up and properly fitted, 3 of them still drowned and 2 of them survived. So even with life jacket in dangerous waters, make sure that they're fit properly, because it will sometimes remove it. And if it's not zipped up, it's easy to just slip out of it.
You were talking about there at the dam. What waters are off limits for boating and for safety reasons? I mean, is there places that you cannot be safely on the water?
We don't have any that I can think of right offhand, but we do have dangerous water areas that are posted, usually around the dams. It's not off limits, but if you're below any TVA or Corps of Engineer dam within the dangerous water areas, which is around 1,000 yards below Nickajack, everybody is required to have a life jacket on if you're in a boat up there fishing or boating or whatever. So.
Everybody in the boat required to have a?
Well, we have certain areas that, like Russ said, that are danger zones. I mean, we have certain areas such as at Carter's Lake, Allatoona Lake, which is down in Bartow County, where people, you can't even take boats in. Those areas are off limits for boats. They're considered dangerous areas. We do have some specific areas like in below dams that, you have to have life jackets on because of the water and how rough it can be on the water.
Yeah, same way in Alabama, the hydroelectric dams, below them everyone has to have a life jacket.
So basically, if you're going to be on any water, I mean, to me, it's just a good common sense. You got to be able to have a life jacket. You may be an Olympic swimmer, but it's good to have that life jacket on, no matter if you think that you're better than. There's been a lot of good swimmers drown. Mm-hmm. For various reasons, because you don't know. I mean, you don't know what's going to flip the boat over, or you're going to get, in a circumstance where you're just not strong enough to overcome whatever situation you're in. So it's good to have. Moving along, before we get out of fishing, let's talk about, are there any limits in Tennessee, and we'll come this way again, as far as how many fish can you catch? I mean, is it boatload or what?
Oh yes, there's lots of limits. It depends on what you're fishing for, what you're catching. We put out a fishing guide every spring.
So if we get on a bed of crappie, there's a limit, right?
Yeah,
okay.
There is, unfortunately.
Right.
But yeah, it depends on what you're fishing for, where you're at. Speaking of crappie, right now it's big crappie time. When I come by the lake a while ago, I saw boats out there fishing. I know they're fishing for crappie. But yeah, on Nickajack, there's a statewide limit, size limit, and possession limit, and then there's reservoir specific limit. So you have to kind of look deeper into the fishing guide to see where you're at, what reservoir you're fishing on, and if it has more restricted limits than maybe a statewide limit. But crappies, say there's 15 per person, and they got to be 10 inches.
At least
10 inches long. And that's on Nickajack, from above Nickajack Dam on the lake. If you go below Nickajack Dam, that's considered Gunnersville, and it's 30 per day and 9-inch limit down there. It may be closer related to Alabama, but so make sure you know where you're at, what you're catching, and what the
So above the dam,
size
15, below the dam,
is
30.
They're talking about changing that, because we just have maybe 7 or 8 miles of Gunnersville below Nickajack Dam before it hits Alabama, and we're talking about changing that, but it hasn't went through yet. So each spring, when the new license go on sale March the 1st, our license expires the last day of February every year, and the new ones come out March 1st. That's usually, we have fishing guides out around that time. This year they were a little bit late, but sometime in March we'll have them out, pick one up, read it, because lots of things change. And there's so many different species. The bass, the largemouth bass is 15 inches and in a 5 in any combination of black bass species. Smallmouth is one fish, 18 inches or above. So yeah, it's pretty complicated. And make sure that you just read the fishing guide, and if you have questions, call.
Pretty much same.
Yeah, Alabama has, like Russ saying, we have specific regulations that apply to certain lakes. Like the state size limit for crappie is 9 inches, but Weiss Lake has a 10-inch minimum length. So, and Gunnersville Lake has, for largemouth and smallmouth, they have to be at least 15 inches. It doesn't apply to spotted bass, and then there's no size limit on bass on Weiss Lake. So it's the best thing to do is get our Hunting and Fishing Digest, and it's going to tell you, the creel limits, size limits that pertain to each lake, and the white bass, the stripes and hybrids and yellow bass. You can have 15 white and yellow bass, and then 15 combination of hybrid and striped bass. And you can't have more than 5 that exceed 22 inches of the hybrids and striped bass. So it's complicated, and
it's
best to get the digest.
Yeah, to be able to do that, and I'm assuming it's y'all's job to to inspect that, and if they're over the limit and undersized, then they get a ticket.
Yeah, we had
or could.
Yeah, we had a lot of complaints at our latest advisory board meeting about short bass on Guntersville Lake. It gets a lot of pressure from both of these states, tournaments and a lot of tournaments in Alabama. It gets a lot of pressure on that lake, and so we're really looking at size limits of bass, on Guntersville Lake. And we do have a Weiss Lake now below the Coosa Dam. They've just restricted snagging fish. It used to be legal on the Coosa River to snag fish, and now that just came into effect where it's illegal to snag below the dam there on the Coosa River.
It's Georgia's just as complicated as Tennessee and Alabama are. And one thing we run into, I work a lot down on the Coosa River, and we run into the same deal with us bordering Alabama. See, we have no length limit in Georgia on crappie, but there's a 30 per day limit per person. But then, of course, you have to read the guide, because say you're combination fishing, you're catching brim, you're catching bass, you're catching crappie, you're catching white bass, stripers, whatever. You can only have 50 game fish, period, in one day. Even if you don't have the limit of each specific species. I know they were talking about bass in Georgia. We've got a 12-inch limit on our largemouth bass. So, anything under that, you got to throw it back. Then you go into certain other bass. There's one that we call the Coosa bass, or the red-eye bass. There's no length limit on it. So it's very complicated. As they said, get one of these guys here, read it. We read, I'm going to be frank, we have to read these also.
I would think every year you'd have to kind of get a refresher yourself to know exactly.
We do. We've got our law book that we have to know, and these guys are probably the same way, but 99.9% of the public, this is what they look at, and this is what they read out of, and we do the same thing, and try to make sure everybody's on the same page when it comes to those fish species.
Got another break coming up. Before we go, limb lines, trout lines, jug fishing. I know that used to be big. I don't know if it still is.
Limb line still is big.
And limb lines, a lot of them on Lookout Creek. Is that,
Got to have a fishing license.
Got to have fishing license, limb line, jugs, trot lines.
Alabama, you're limited to 100 hooks on a trot line for just a residential fishing license. In order to have more than that, you would need to get the commercial license.
Same in Tennessee.
With us, if you've got 51 or more hooks, you got to have a commercial license.
Well, I can't think of many places in Lookout Creek that you could put a trot line over 50 hooks.
No, you can't.
Because it's just you don't have the waterway to be able to do that.
Well, we run into a lot of that down on the Coosa River, like going into Lake Weiss down there, and when it comes to commercial application, the Coosa River system is actually closed to commercial fishing. So there's no commercial fishing in it. One thing a lot of people don't realize there is that the Coosa River system, every striper and hybrid in the state of Georgia is linked back to the Coosa River system in northwest Georgia.
So trot lines and drug fishing and limb lines are still alive.
Still alive.
They're still out there.
All right. Well, good deal. We're going to talk safety when we come back. Probably the most important thing that we'll talk about some boater safety. We'll talk about what you can do and what you can't do and what you need to do. It's all coming up as we talk outdoor fishing and hunting right here on Sherrif Talk. We'll be right back.
Now's the perfect time to find a new vehicle at a great price. Cloud Auto Sales. At Clouds in Higdon, you'll find a 2010 black Chevy Equinox LT, leather, or how about a 2011 silver Chevy Silverado 4x4 with only 80,000 miles, including leather. And if you're looking for gas mileage, how about a 2011 red Chevrolet HHR 4-door wagon? Warranties are available. Check us out, Cloud Auto Sales, Highway 71 Higdon, next to Diamond Supermarket.
Come to see me for your best deal in a good used car. And yes, I'm still fishing.
Spring is just around the corner, and your lawn care and decisions about lawn care are soon to be on the horizon. Let me tell you about a good, dependable lawn care service that's ready to provide you honest, dependable lawn care and at a reasonable price. Holman's Lawn Care is ready to maintain your yard this spring. Call Denny Holman at 423-280-6495. Denny will be happy to provide you references and a free estimate. From residential to commercial, each lawn will be done with their personal commitment. Don't put your lawn care decision off any longer. Call Holman's Lawn Care, 423-280-6495. It's another spring planting season at Glass Farm Nursery. Glass Farm Nursery, 4 miles south of Trenton on Highway 11, is your tree and shrub headquarters for spring. They've been sprucing up yards for generations, and they're now ready for you this year. Glass Farm Nursery open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. and Saturday 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. For all of your lawn, gardening, flowers, and shrubbery needs, look no further than Glass Farm Nursery. Now open for spring, 4 miles south of Trenton on Highway 11. Glass Farm Nursery.
Planning your spring break? Whether your trip takes you to the water, the mountains, or just around the corner, trust the pros to get you there. March 15th through April 15th, get a $70 rebate after submission when you purchase 4 new Continental passenger or light truck tires. No matter the destination, make your first stop Brown's Tire Pros today. Your tire store since 1984. Online at brownstirepros.com. See participating stores for complete details. Terms and conditions apply. Offer expires 4/15/17.
Handyman Salvage in the Cabins to Castles building off I-59 in Trenton is now carrying 3/4-inch tongue and groove OSB board only $17.99 compared to $24 a sheet. Custom countertops only $6 a running foot. Solid wood cabinets $40 for a base, $35 for a wall and linear foot. The next time you're looking for home improvement supplies, always shop Cabins to Castles, where we now offer financing and 6 months same as cash. From lumber, plumbing, electrical, and roofing supplies, it's Handyman Salvage in the Cabins to Castles building off I-59 Trenton behind the Kangaroo.
Back now to Sheriff Talk here on KWN TV. It's been a very informative show. Been a good show. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. We've been talking about hunting and fishing and safety and all kinds of things in Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee that affect the laws and affect us, the safety. And that's what we're going to really talk to this last segment this morning is about the safety. We did talk about hunter safety at the beginning of the program and what you got to do as far as to getting your license or whatever. But we got a lot of summer activities that are going to be happening. Folks are going to be going camping. They're going to be on the waterways. They're going to be out there. They're going to take their boat. And there's a lot of laws concerning the operation of your boat, camping, all kinds of things that that we need to. We may have been aware of it. We need to be reminded of it.
Well, in Georgia, you know, as Russ said earlier, most of the laws throughout the country are very uniform when it comes to boating. You know, of course, we hit up on the life jackets earlier and talked about those. Very important with there. One thing we didn't cover, we'll talk about boater education. Boater education here in Georgia, if you were born after January 1st of 1999, then you are required to have boater education before you can operate a boat in the state of Georgia. And we do offer those classes, kind of a traditional class, which is normally 1 day. Once again, just like our Hunter Ed, unfortunately, we don't get a lot of people that come to those because you can actually do those online and do those at home. You know, one thing we want to remind people in Georgia, you can drink alcoholic beverages on a boat, but you have to have a sober operator. And when I say sober, that doesn't mean, you know, oh, I can drink 5 beers and I can still walk. I feel like I'm sober. No. You need to be below a .08. So
Same as you would on a car.
Same as you would as a vehicle. You know, and what a lot of people don't realize that I've noticed, and these guys probably have too, is you get someone that gets out on the water and they drive this boat and they're drinking alcohol all day. Well, as soon as they get back to the boat ramp, what's the first thing they do? They get in their vehicle and they drive down the roadway. You know, and it's just as dangerous on a boat as it is on the roadway. So just remember, you know, have a sober operator. You know, and you know, if you're over the age of 21 in Georgia, you can have alcohol on a vessel. One thing we do with a lot of kayakers and tubers and things of that nature that have them, we catch a lot of people sinking their cans, trashing their waterways. Take your cans, take an extra trash bag, take it with you. You know, I pretty venture to say that most people that live in Dade here are very proud that they live here in Dade, and they want people to come here and see it and not think, man, look at all the trash here. That's not the way we want it. So just take your trash with you. You know, drink your beer if you want to, but you know, just be safe about it.
You got to be able to do that. And of course, you can get a ticket just is like a boating BUI. I mean, do you take them to jail?
Yes. The 2013, I believe it was, we had new legislation go in that lowered our limit from .10 to a .08. And during that time, they took the punishment for boating under the influence mirror images the punishment for driving under the influence. So you still have the 24-hour requirement to be in jail. You still have to go through the drug and alcohol class, and it will suspend your boating operating privileges. So if that happens, you can't get on a tube, you can't get on a kayak, you can't operate a canoe. You can't operate any of those if your privileges to operate a vessel in the waters of the state are suspended. And we also have a compact. So, I believe Tennessee and Alabama are in that compact where if you're suspended in Georgia, you can't operate a boat in those other states either.
Similar to Alabama?
Yeah, it is. And Alabama is a little different than these two states. We have a separate Marine Police division that, they enforce most of the boating safety stuff. Although, our officers do have boats and we go out and work on the waters, we do have the Water Patrol Marine Police officers. But you got to have a sober operator, and then the fines and the limits are the same as driving on the road. And Alabama does have a vessel license you have to have. And, if you're caught drinking and, below or above the limits, you're going to get your vessel operator license suspended.
Tennessee,
just almost identical. One difference on the boater education was the age difference. It's January 1st of '89
instead of '91.
Yeah, and then and that has to be a motorized vessel. It doesn't have, if it's not just a kayak or anything, it has to be a motorized vessel of having the boater education. And then same thing on the BUIs, .08 or above. So. It doesn't take near as much on the water to get to that level as it does on dry land. You got the wave action out there and the heat. If you're not eating very much or anything, it sometimes doesn't take near as much to get to that level as it does on land. So,
especially if you're out there and you're out there for recreation and you're trying to have fun, you may get to that limit a lot quicker than you thought you were going to. And get yourself in trouble in more ways than one. It's really all safety. I mean, it really boils down to what y'all do is making sure that we follow the safety guidelines.
Want to save lives because we've all seen it. Alcohol and gasoline in a boat goes about as well as alcohol and gasoline in a vehicle. And it's the same thing with hunting also. What a lot of people don't realize when it comes to hunting, because we talked about turkey hunting earlier in the show here, and it's the same thing with hunting. You can't be under the influence of alcohol. You can't be under the influence of any drugs. A lot of people nowadays, they're on prescription medication, and if that prescription medication says do not operate a vehicle or heavy equipment, then I wouldn't operate a boat. I wouldn't go hunting. I wouldn't drive a vehicle or anything of that nature.
A lot of people, and we've talked about that on this program before with the sheriffs, is the fact that if your medicine says do not operate heavy machinery, that doesn't mean a bulldozer.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people think, well, I'm not going to be out driving a bulldozer, but that heavy machinery is really a car.
Boat,
any kind of motorized vehicle. So I think the message on the prescription bottle needs to be updated and changed to a motor vehicle or anything like that, because heavy machinery, I'm not going to do that. So a little bit deceiving there. Gentlemen, I'm going to start with you. Is there anything, we got a couple minutes here.
Yeah, one thing I want to cover, is that, most people remember our office being in Calhoun. September this past year, our office moved down to Ackworth, so we have a totally new phone number and all that. And the new phone number down there for anybody wanting it is 770-529-2424. You can call that number, to get a hold of a game warden here in Georgia.
All right.
I'd like to touch on the turkey as the game check is new to the system. Mandatory reporting, 48 hours to game check your DR turkey.
A lot like the deer.
It's just like the deer,
We do have a new license that might benefit. Well, it does benefit the non-residents, so read your new fishing guide. If you were actually born in Tennessee, you can apply and get a same license like a resident person now.
I was
So,
born on 3rd Street at Erlanger, so I guess
yeah, a lot of people probably were born, around Chattanooga. So.
Officers, we thank you so much, and we look forward to doing this twice a year. It kind of gives everybody a refresher course on what y'all do, and we thank y'all for the job you do. Y'all are kind of like maybe the young unsung hero back. You don't see a lot, especially if you don't get in the woods, but y'all are out there, and we appreciate it. And we hope that you've enjoyed the show today, and we'll have these officers back come this fall. Have a great week. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week right here on Sheriff Talk.
You've been watching Sheriff Talk, live from the studios of KWN TV7, all around the tri-state area, as we give you information that you can use concerning law enforcement. Join us again next week for another episode of Sheriff Talk, a public affairs program of KWN TV7.